and welcome to the Sunday Relevant Horse Racing Podcast. This is Russell Moore, your host, along with my co-host, Michael Serio. I am based out of Massachusetts. He is based out of Maryland. So we've got a lot of the Eastern Seaboard covered here, which makes sense because we're going to handicap the late pick 4 at Saratoga today. So without further ado, let's briefly touch upon yesterday. Mike, what did you think about the action yesterday at Saratoga?
Well, the action was interesting. I had the Grand Motion horse that won the Sarmac early, and I couldn't catch a ticket. And then I had Win later, and of course Bill Mott comes back to beat me every time I seem to have that horse. He loses, and then when I don't, he beats me. Just enough time for me to jump off the bridge. So it was very challenging, but I will say Win final time of 1:21 and 7 furlongs was very good, even though they went slower than Yukon in the Amsterdam, which I think was the most impressive win on the card. Went 108 and change, really good traction, really was within himself, and that could be a really good horse.
I think he figured. I had win, so that was nice. In that race, I actually had True Timber as well, so I had a win ticket on win, and I Dutch bet the race. Folks who don't know, Dutch bet means you make two win bets in the same race. But so I had both of them, and into the stretch, I'm rooting like heck for True Timber because he's in with a shot, and he's 37 to 1. And then win comes by and he wins the race. Boy, we're saying that word a lot. And it was what's the word I'm looking for? It was kind of anticlimactic or kind of a letdown. To have the winner, you're gonna cash a ticket, but 37 to 1 is a lot better than 7 to 1. So I've never been so disappointed to have a 7 to 1 shot win as I did in that moment. So that was, and here's the other thing about that race. My dad was with me, and he said, you've got both of these horses in multi-race sequences. He said, why don't you hit the try? I mean, the six that got second, totally figured in the race. I easily could have had that trifecta, and it paid over $700 for $1. So, again, some good handicapping, class example, good handicapping and bad betting. Handicapping is half the battle, and we're going to try to do our best to help the listeners out with that, but we can't tell you how to bet because I don't think we know how to do it ourselves. So, the other
one thing I will say, what we learned yesterday?
What did we learn?
Forensic Fire is not the same horse. I just, you can't blame the wet track because he's won on it before, and he just isn't the same horse without Thursday. And so he will no longer get any of my money moving forward. Unless he drops down to like a great.
I agree.
He just can't. He's just not the same horse.
I agree. I didn't have him on my tickets. I didn't use him. I didn't use Whitmore either. I just felt like some of these younger horses were gonna run better, and they did. The other thing I wanted to touch on. Yeah, it was a great race. The other race I wanted to touch upon, it was kind of a confusing, frustrating disappointment, was the turf race, the 1.5 mile Grade 1 turf race yesterday.
Oh my God, yeah.
I don't understand that. The conspiracy theorist in me makes me think there was some funny business going on. I mean, the horse is allowed, Channel Maker, I know he's a Bill Mott horse and you're a Bill Mott guy, and that's great, but the horse gets this easy lead. No one pushes him. He goes so slow, and he wins the race easily, and he does it in a slow time. I know it was a yielding track, so the time's going to be a little bit slower, but that final time was really, really slow. 1:34. I mean, that's what. Can you add something to that, Mike? What's your take?
I would agree 100%. I think that the race was lost by how the jockeys played it. He had an easy lead, and they were just not going to get to him. And there's no excuse because Sadler's Joy. There's 2 Europeans in there, Jonathan Thomas's horse and Grand Motion. So the soft showing isn't an excuse. They should have been able to. Somebody should have been able to run, get up there and run.
Oh, there were horses with speed. There was a couple horses in there with speed.
Well, and that was what was weird. I thought that Mike Maker's Aquaphobia would have been much closer, and given that the horse is on the lead, free and clear, at that point, you have to understand if you just let him go, you're not going to catch him. So you're almost forced as the jockey that you have to move up alongside of him and push him a little bit. And they chose not to do that and lost everybody's money.
Yeah. And I like, don't get me wrong, I've bet Channel Maker before. I've won with Channel Maker before. I've lost with Channel Maker. In this particular instance, I just thought that, his form wasn't what it once was. I thought he was getting older, and
yeah.
I thought it was a good place to bet against that horse, and it really wasn't, so. All right, enough.
No, I'm waiting for the day that we don't have to bet Channel Maker. Like, every time, I don't want to bet him, and we have to include him because he's got a shot. And I'm waiting for that day where Sadler's Joy and Channel Maker are not in a grade 1 that we have to bet that. They drive me nuts.
Yep, that's very frustrating. So let's hope this Sunday is not frustrating because there's been a couple tough ones. There's been a couple tough ones here the last few weeks. So we're not going to talk about last week because it depresses me. So without further ado, let's go to race 7. We're going to do the late pick 4 today at Saratoga. Couple very interesting competitive races here. First one is an allowance optional claiming race, $67,000 for fillies and mares going a mile on the turf, and they have to be they have to be New York breds. What do you got here? What's your take?
This race, I don't love any particular one. I'll point out the obvious, the 12, who will be the favorite. Has the best form, fire-wise and race-wise, 77. He is one on the soft filling. I did check the weather. It doesn't appear that it rained last night. It was only a 20% chance of rain today. So it might be a little soggy a little bit, from yesterday. With the 12, I don't think that will be an issue. The other likely choices to throw in here, obviously, is the 1 and the 2 and the 4. The one horse I will throw in, that's kind of like a shot, if you will, is the 9, Lovely La La. And it's more of a hunt. This mare was actually at one time would have been the 7-5 favorite in this race if you get through that. Now that was with Chad Brown. But the horse's best races put her above these.
Yes, exactly. I am 100% with you on this, by the way, because of what you just said.
Good.
Her best races win this race, and if you're going to give us a morning line of 15-1, I know you and me, we're going to be all over this horse.
Yeah, and the interesting statistic is I like Michelle Nevin. She's the trainer.
I'm a huge Michelle Nevin fan.
I think she was the exercise rider on Big Brown for Rick Dutrow. I think that's what like her connection is. But she's 3 for 9, 33%, taking a horse 2 sprints and then a route. And maybe she's trying to condition this horse into shape because he doesn't seem to work right in the morning. Or maybe she's just lost it. I don't know. It's a complete question mark. But with the pick 4, you can go a little bit deeper, and I think it's worth a shot for New York breds that are completely inconsistent.
Michelle Nevin is the type of trainer who does right by the horse at all times, and when you do right by the horse, you get better results, believe it or not. So I can't say enough good things about her. I have every confidence in her abilities. And again, you hit the nail on the head. This horse, if this 9 shows up and runs her best race, she wins this race. So at 15-1, that is the classic example of a good value bet. So,
and she could have dropped them. I mean, she the last 2 races were at the optional claiming 40 condition. She could have dropped this horse into a claiming 25 and get some flat release, but she didn't. She's keeping them at this level. So you have to think maybe he had some sort of physical ailment that they're working on. I don't know, but. It's a hunch, but it's worth a shot.
I think it's a little more than a hunch because, like we said, she shows up like she did last year in October and, runs that race where she got second, 83 buyer, 122, on a deep track. That's pretty good. So that's my pick in the race. I like Lovely Lala. Like I say sometimes, there's the horse who's most likely to win, and then there's the horse who offers the best value. So you could be, 2-5, and yeah, you're the most likely to win, but you shouldn't be 2-5. You should be 8-5. So that's a bad bet. That's a poor value bet. Then you've got a horse like this who may be 10, 15 to 1, but should be 5 to 1. That's a really good value bet. If you bet that enough times, you're going to come out ahead. So I'm with you. That was actually my number one horse, and the other ones you mentioned are also obviously, they're right in there. So I'm with you on this race. So without further,
Russell, what do you think?
Yep,
what do you think about the 3?
I like the 3 because it's going right to the front. That's what I like. They need to go catch this horse.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that why you asked me? Do you figure I'd like the speed or?
I know you like the speed. He's 4 for 5 on 2 turns. Now his tires are really low, but the competition he's running against, I think your legs kind of brings those down. And these Finger Lake specials that come out here to Saratoga sometimes run really well.
Oh, gee, you think? Tell me about it. Like last week when I had 6 or 7 horses in the race, and the one I didn't use was a Finger Lake shipper that happened to send me bankrupt. Yeah, that's
absolutely. And so I'm thinking, they could have kept this horse out. Why are they sending him to Saratoga? And they thought enough of him. I mean, she wins her first race. Then they put her in a stake where she's second, beaten 3.5. I mean, she has some talent. One of her best races at Finger Lake, she won by 23.25 only, and ran an 81. So if she's sitting on one of her best races, she might contend here. I'm not certain she would win, but she does. She has some interesting things that have you wondering, what's going on here? I don't know. I circled her a lot, even though I didn't pick her, but I didn't know if you liked her or not.
I do like the horse. I wouldn't. It's one I would probably use because, again, we're talking value. This horse comes in. Now the pick 4 is going to pay a lot of money, so.
Yeah.
Yep, I would have to eliminate someone else probably, one of these, horses that's more likely to disappoint. Maybe like the 2. I would use this horse in lieu of the 2. So that's how I roll. Let's move to race 8 now. It's 6 furlong allowance race with a sprinting New York breds, a New York bred sprint race claiming, allowance race, 64,000. What was your take here, Mike? Who do you like?
Okay, so obviously the 4 for Chad Brown and the 8, the Johnny Kimmel horse Hairspray are the 2 to have on your ticket.
Yes, you can't leave those out.
I'm absolutely not, and I wouldn't get on anybody who throws in 3 jokers for John Terranova. But there's 2 horses I'm really looking at here, and I don't think they're going to get a lot of play just because of the nature of the buyers of the 4 and the 8.
Yep.
And who their trainers are. So I think your value will be found number 3 inside info with a right. The interesting horse, given what you look at usually, if you look at his multiple, they went to a OBS sale, which is the Ocala breeder sale for 2-year-olds. So they actually get the run. They paid $165,000 for a horse. It's a 31 times what the judge fee is for Mr. Passable. And what's crazy about it is they buy him, they put him on the turf into a maiden special weight. He doesn't do much. So then they put him into a stake. Doesn't do much. Put him on the shelf and change trainers in which they drop into him the maiden claiming 30. Gets the win, which, Linda Rice claims him out of. I don't know why they gave up on the horse so quickly in just 2 races. And so it looks like she's found herself a decent horse because, wins next out first-time winners against, claiming 16. And in the same condition as Saratoga when it was off the turf, only got beat a length. So the horse has the talent at this level to be there, and you're getting 8-1 morning line, and you might get more than that. You never know with the Linda Rice. The other horse I'm talking about is Riken.
Okay. Yep. That's the other horse I was just about to mention, and that horse is why I don't like either of the 2 you just mentioned. The one you just mentioned and Riken are going to go duel. They're going to go duel each other into submission. That's how I'm viewing it, because Riken actually has even more speed than the horse you just mentioned, Inside Info. What do you think?
Well, if you're right, if they duel each other to death, I mean that's not going to be a problem. The two things about that? If you look at the maiden claiming win, she was able. I mean, I guess she kind of dueled. I mean, she was in second for a little bit, got ahead. I mean, obviously they can't kill each other into the ground. You're right about that. Now, one of the things I've often heard I've heard Jared Daly say, you tend to get those speed duels when the horses come out of the gate and they're directly next to one another, and they kind of get in sync with each other, and then they start they just kill each other.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting because they're herd animals. So that's a good point by Bailey.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean that could be the problem, but the condition, I mean the 10 had run 80s 2 and 3 back. If he can do that, he's a player. No, I don't know. Yeah, 48 plus.
I mean, sure. Listen, the buyers fit. The buyers are there on the 10. There's no doubt about that. And they're even better. They're considerably better than the 3's buyers. So if I had to pick one of the two, I would pick the 10. And we've been noticing a pattern here about Sundays. It seems like our pal David Dunk gets his winners on Sundays. Now, this is crazy to say. This is, obviously superstition, but am I wrong? Am I wrong, Mike, over this meet?
Well, yeah, it just so happened I looked up and it's David Stoneford. He only wins at a price. It's,
Oh, and then here you go. He only wins at a price. This is going to be a price.
Oh, there's no doubt. He'll be 20 to 1, no doubt.
Yeah, he's a play. You're right. The 10 is, I'm going to say the 10 is a play and the 3 is not, but you know what that means. The 3 will probably win by open lengths. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, I wouldn't point out any other horse. You pointed out the few that I like in the race. I wasn't gonna mention the 3, but if you didn't mention the 10, I was gonna mention the 10. So, but I am concerned about a speed duel. But your point about them not being right next to each other suggests that perhaps one of them would maybe take back and then make a run later. So,
and the jockey on the 10, who I don't care for the bug, he has at Saratoga a couple times this meet. He has gotten crazy on the lead. My hope would be that Luis Diaz, who we all know loves to go to the lead, enough that if he's feeling suicidal, he's just going to let him go.
This thing's got speed duel written all over it. Again, this is Saratoga. We don't see many speed duels because all these jockeys want to save everything for the last four steps of the race. But I don't know. I've got misgivings about this race here. All right, let's turn the page and head to the featured race of the day. It's the Shuvi Grade 3, $125,000 for fillies and mares 4 years old and up. So it's older females going a mile and an eighth. And these are kind of horses that are, they're like one cut below your, Midnight Bizus, one cut below your Monomoy Girls and those type of horses, but they're very good horses in their own right. So against that backdrop, I'll let you lead us off again, Mike. What are you thinking here?
Okay, so going back to your term value, the 3 Latruska doesn't offer much at 3 to 1, and she might be your favorite. She might not. I don't know. The horse's best rate was in, basically a unlisted state, which is less than that. So I don't love the horse, given that she could be the favorite or even a second choice. If you're looking at value, your horse would probably be the 5 Golden Award for Bill Mott, a 2-time Grade 3 winner. So if that horse is 9 to 2 or second or third choice, and you got a graded stakes winner, he last ran a 90, I think it offers some value. The 6 Butler's horse obviously is running in good form, as well as Royal Flag for Scott Brown. I would point out that Royal Flag, the 9, in the Molly Pitcher hydrologist, if you were watching Mamas that day, they got the lead, and he just could never get to them. And it's a horse that comes off the pace. There seems to be a decent amount of pace in this race. So I think he's going to have first shot coming for home. She should have the first shot coming for home at these horses. The last horse I will bring up is kind of a shot. The 8, Todd Fletcher, another broad, which ironically is a Maryland bred. I don't love the horse. I don't think this horse is better than any of these. But what I do think, if you look way back on her Aqueduct race in the ladies, something $97,000 stake, she was 10 off. Really deep closing and almost got there. If she runs that race here, if they do go quickly, she might be flying at the end. And I think it's kind of, I'm just trying to predict that the trip to keep quick, Royal Flag's going to attack on the turn, and this Fletcher horse with Luis Saez is going to be coming. Whether she can get to him, I don't know. She needs to have a good race, and I will say, Fletcher has been entering this horse all meet long as a main track only, and she runs really well on the wet. I'm a little disappointed he wasn't able to get a prep race indoors. So conditioning might be an issue, but if the race falls apart up front with all this speed, I think she might be able to get to them just from a trip sample.
You always mention last the horse that I think is the value. This is probably the third time you've done it in this podcast, but in 3 races. But yeah, this is the horse I'm looking at for value. I mentioned earlier that these horses are cut below your Midnight Bijous, Monomoy Girls, and so forth. And you know, look, she ran last time out against Midnight Bijou, and she's 9 lengths fast. She's not going to catch a horse like that. Mm-hmm. But this horse is knocking on the door against some of these in here. You know, you mentioned that ladies. There's a couple horses in here. You know, Bolera, Lucky Move. You mentioned Golden Award. You know, she's right there with her. It doesn't take. It's not going to take much for this horse. You know, a lucky break here or there for this horse to turn the tables, and we're going to get a big price on this horse. And I would also add that another broad is the best closer in the race. As far as closing goes. So I think that horse has a definite shot. You mentioned the 3, and you said you didn't like the value on the 3, but the 3 is the speed of the speed. So they got to go catch the 3. So I like that. So, you know, her last race, you know, she couldn't outduel Serengeti Empress, so we get that, and you can't really hold that against the horse. I'm not so familiar with this trainer. Yeah, and I don't know who this trainer is, but that's a definite. I got to use the 3, and I'm only probably going to use 3 horses in this race. I'm going to go 3, 4, and I'm going to use the 8. Now I like the 4 as well. I think the 4 is going to be in the mix. What's your take on the 4? And then, you know, it's like a Laurel horse. So
the 4 is interesting. I kept looking. Sherry Devereaux was, I believe, the assistant trainer for Chad Brown for a long time. So you know, she's got the pedigree. The last race was very nice. So as you can see, that was the same one that Royal Flag was in, with hydrologists, and this horse just kept going. So was that an apparition? I mean, it was the best race of that horse's life. Is she going to step it up after that? I would be shocked if she won like 100 here and blew these horses away. Just consistently before, she just hasn't been able to do that. You know, winning optional 50 in the Shine Again, it's just I think it's a tall order, and she just ran really well on the lead.
Now, this is Saratoga, where tall orders are served up constantly. So
yes, I'll be interested to see what the 1 does. I had to look up where CMR is because I've never seen that before. It's Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I've got no use for this horse.
11 for 11 first or second. My son Bet is a good trainer, and the horse is bred nicely. Declaration of War. They paid 1/3 of the stud fee for the horse.
Yeah, this
horse is not
for me, man.
I mean, he comes in 59 and 1 and 47. The horse would have to run way faster than what obviously he's doing in Puerto Rico. But I'm interested to see what that horse does.
Yeah, well, me too, but if it wins, it's going to take my money. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I'll be scratching. If that horse wins, I'll be sitting here scratching my head, but it won't be the first or last time I've done that. So, all right, the last race of the day, the get out race. Let's hope we don't need it to get even, which seems to happen more than we'd like. It's a mile and a 16th on the turf, maidens. This is a good race. I like these type of horses. I love maiden races. Remind me to talk about a maiden race from yesterday that I forgot to mention, but after this race. But what are you thinking here? There's some interesting horses. I think you would agree.
I agree. From a pedigree standpoint,
mile and 16th on the turf. Sorry. Yep.
That's okay. Yes, I mean, especially maidens. Starting 2 turns is always interesting. What I'm going to end up doing, if you look at the 9, I do not like the 9, but you see this a lot in these maiden races where he comes out, he's 3 off the lead, he's 3 off the lead, he's 3 off the lead, and then he just kind of fades. With maidens, remembering that they're animals, they're not always certain, especially when they're maidens, and even if they run once, twice, 3 times, what the hell they're supposed to be doing out there? In the morning, they're on the track with a bunch of horses, they're running around, all of a sudden, they're there in the afternoon with 7 in the gate, and they're running together. If you look at the 3, what I like, and you saw it yesterday in the maiden race with Funda Etta, and I like him for the same reason. In his race, his last race with Ian Wilkes Modern Science, he was 7.5 off. He started to close and make a move 4.5. He took the lead by head and then just got tired and passed a little bit. But he even did it in the previous race too. That horse understands what he's supposed to be doing, and he seems to have enough talent. I think that gives him a huge advantage over all these first-time starters who, again, may or may not know what the hell they're doing out there. Therefore, I'm going with a single with a 3 in there. The second choice morning line, I think will go off the favorite. He's got great connections, and Joel Rosario, who gets first call riding for Christophe Clement, who has the 1, has seemingly decided to stay on this Ian Wilkes horse. He's a really good trainer, and I think that I want to go deep early. I'm going to take a shot with the second.
Okay, that you make a good case and good argument. I'm not going to do that because there's some other horses here that I think have the capability to win this race, and I don't want to. I wouldn't feel too comfortable with just the 3, so I'll mention a couple horses that I give a shot to here. The 8, Ready at Dawn, trained by your man, Graham Motion. The horse is out of More Than Ready. That's good turf breeding. This horse has a good turf number, good Tomlinson. The horse has done, decent enough works in the morning. The horse is 8-1. Motion is good with first-time turfers. It's got a positive return on investment. So I'm going to use the 8. And I would also I have to use the 1. Talking about multipliers, sells at Keeneland in September for $410,000. Don't worry about that maiden race. That was just a tune-up race. It was kind of like a public workout. It's Christopher Clement. This horse's value. By the way, that horse that beat it, Reinvestment Risk, is a pretty fast horse. So I'm going to go 1.
And that was a sprint too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some speed into the horse. That's a classic training move. Clement knows that. So we're going to go. I'm going to go 1, 3, and 8. People would probably say we're crazy, Mr. Serio, because they say, you guys don't like the Chad Brown first-timer? What are you? But I don't think this horse is value. I do like the multiplier. I like that it sold at September sale in Keeneland, for 10 times the stud fee. But what I don't like is I don't see a ton of turf breeding here. The Tomlinson number is low for this bunch. It's not going to...
I was shocked that Point of Entry gave it a 270 turf figure. I mean, Point of Entry was really nice at the Dynaformer line, but the Dynaformer could give you dirt or turf.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like nothing on the dam side, right?
Yeah, that's the problem.
And the dam side is everything to me. I don't know. This horse's workouts, they don't look that good. I just feel like it's burnt. I just feel like I'm getting a bad deal on this horse.
Mm-hmm.
You agree?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I'd rather, I'll take the advantage of a horse who has shown that they know what they're doing and has the ability to win at this level over a question mark that's going to be short term.
Sure. And we were talking about multipliers, and we were talking about that earlier. There was, they gave away free money yesterday at Saratoga in one of those maiden races. It was actually a Chad Brown horse, the 5 horse. I can't remember which number race it was, but they were first timers. And the horse, it was the 5 horse, and the horse was 6-1, and it had a stud fee of $10,000, and then it sold at a sale for $600,000. You remember that race yesterday?
I know. I did not pick up on that.
Yeah, it was one of the maiden races, and as I'm watching the race and I'm looking for, I'm saying, what are people not seeing that I am? But every once in a while things work out for you, so it's nice to see your angle work once in a while. When you have these kind of obscure angles that not everyone looks at.
Yeah, no doubt.
So what's your take on this card, particularly this sequence in this card today for a Sunday? Good card, bad card? What do you think?
I think it's a good betting card. If you look at the sequence, you don't have any 6-5, 7-5 favorites in here, which the morning line is telling you that they're pretty even races, and so I think that gives you, again, using the word value in each one of these races that you could get a price. With a pick 4, you really need 2 prices for it to pay decently. But I think that in 4 races, you have the opportunity to get prices in each one. You don't have to beat some sort of crazy favorite who is going to be tough. So I think that it's a good play this week. If you don't want to go super deep with a huge ticket, but have something to watch in the afternoon, give yourself a chance to win.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Yep, that's the plan, and I agree with your assessment. I think it's a terrific late card. I think the beginning of the card I think is a little boring because you've got some big chalks. But I think as the afternoon moves on, the racing gets more and more competitive. So it's going to make for some good TV for the end of the afternoon today. So I totally agree with you. So it's a good Sunday card. I think the feature is a very interesting race. And like you said, I think we're going to get some prices. I think another broad has a big shot. And I think that 10 that you made a really good case for in the 8th race. And, if you like, your single looks pretty good too. And if you do single that horse, you're going to be able to go deep in the other legs and get some nice prices. It's always good to single a second, a third, a fourth choice because, that's you're against the grain there. So you get that single home, and now you're looking at potentially, a big pick 4.
Absolutely. One of your buddies had retweeted the guy who singled the 4 in the final race yesterday for a $28,000 score. And that's the way to go. Live in Dutch. Just try to get to the end, give yourself a shot to win, and just see where the chips may fall. Because it's Saratoga, it's the graveyard of champions.
Exactly. So, good luck, Mike, and good luck to everyone else out there playing the ponies today. We all need it.
Absolutely.
All right, take care.
Good night, buddy.